Welcome back to the May 24th Education and Pupil Services Committee in-person and virtual meeting. The meeting of the Education and Pupil Services Committee will please come to order. The district posted this evening's agenda to board docs at least 24 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting. Is there a motion to approve that previously posted agenda?
Second.
Thank you. The agenda has been moved and seconded. Are there any amendments to offer?
There are no amendments.
Okay. The agenda has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please signify by saying aye opposed and state your name for the record. Those abstaining, please signify by saying I abstain and state your name for the record. The motion carried. I will now turn over the Education and Pupil Services Committee agenda to Co-Chair Director Neal.
Thank you, President Brown. Mr. Marshallek, could you please begin with an overview of your agenda item for this evening, and then once completed, can you roll right into it?
Yes, thank you. So tonight we have one agenda item. Dr. Manfred's going to give a brief overview of our additional target support improvement schools and Title I schools, their improvement plans. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to him and take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Marshallek. Good evening, Board President Brown, members of the Board of Directors, Dr. McGarry, and Upper Darby School District community. As you know, every year our Title I schools and designated schools are required to develop school improvement plans and have them board, Delaware County Intermediate Unit, and state approved. Furthermore, it has been customary in Upper Darby School District that all of our schools put together school improvement teams and develop plans. All of our schools use the state-developed tool to do so. These plans act as guideposts for our leaders as they move through the school year. We use various assessments throughout the year to monitor the progress of all of our students. These assessments include measure of academic progress, Ames Web, and curriculum-based assessments. This year is no exception. However, our principals and teams have been working at somewhat of a disadvantage given that the data they are working with is not complete in many instances, and the state and federal governments have recognized that. In a letter from the Pennsylvania Department of Education dated April 27th, 2022, they reminded school districts and school leaders that A, participation in the 2020-2021 state assessment decreased by more than 25% from the last regular administration of the assessment. B, the pandemic-related disruption impacted testing conditions to varying degrees across schools and regions. Given the differences, the differential effects of the pandemic, comparisons between schools and across districts or across school years would be improper. And 2020-2021 academic growth results were not used in educator evaluations. This letter is available on the curriculum and instruction page of the Upper Darby School District website. Given all of these circumstances, it was especially challenging developing school improvement plans this year, so I want to thank our principals, two of whom are here, and their teams for the continued excellent work they have done with the data that is available. Principals have assembled their school improvement teams, which include teachers, administrators, central administrators, parents, and communities members, and they have met regularly since February for these plans. But remember, these meetings are extensions of the sessions held previously, meaning these teams meet to review and revise plans all year long. In fact, additional target school improvement schools, Charles Kelly and Beverly Hills Middle School, are required to review and revise their plans quarterly. So these plans really are documents that change as students progress, living, breathing documents. All of our school improvement plans have been posted to our school's web pages since the beginning of May. In addition, they have been sent home via our Wednesday folders and presented to our home and school associations. We will be asking for board approval at the June 7th board meeting. Ready for the agenda. This evening we'll be talking about, quickly, what is an A-TSI designation, Upper Darby School District's additional target support improvement schools of Beverly Hills Middle School and Charles Kelly, their challenges, what the exit criteria looks like, and briefly about our Title I school improvement plans. An additional target support and improvement school is a federally prescribed designation that happens every 3 years. Schools that are designated as ATSI schools have student groups who have performed below comprehensive support and improvement schools. Here you can see the definition of both. Comprehensive support and improvement schools are the most serious of the federal government and state government designations. These schools could be designated based on the performance of student groups in academic proficiency, academic growth, or at least one indicator, such as regular attendance. Our reasons for designation have not changed since these designations began. Next slide, please. Beverly Hills Middle School has been designated an A-TSI school based on our Black English learner performance on the Access Test. As a reminder, ELs are assessed every year in the areas of reading, writing, listening, and speaking English. This is in addition to being required to participate in the regular state assessments such as the PSSA and the Keystone. In addition, BHMS has been designated due to Black student scores on the PSSA in English language arts and math, as well as regular attendance. If you are wondering how regular attendance is calculated, the indicator is the percentage of students enrolled in a school for 90 or more school days and present for 90% or more of those school days. This is a lagging indicator, which means that the data is from the prior year to the reporting year. Charles Kelly. Charles Kelly has been designated an A-TSI school based on Black student scores on the third grade PSSA in both English language arts and math. In addition, regular attendance for all student groups was an indicator. Next slide. I'm going to ask Mr. Marshallak as I go through a general description of how an A-TSI school exits to toggle back and forth from specific Beverly Hills Middle School's criteria and Charles Kelly's criteria. First, I'd like to point out that we have not received updated school-specific exit criteria from the state for either of the two schools in our districts that have been designated. As far as goal setting, the suggestion from our IU was to consider the goals within our plans last year or consider the long-term 2030 goal and walk that back to the 2022-2023 target. As an example, English language arts 2030 goal is that all students are proficient. All student group, would have 81.1 proficiency rate. However, at a minimum to exit an A-TSI status school, they are required to demonstrate growth in specific areas over a 4-year period in the following areas: continued progress on at least one academic achievement indicator, continued progress on school quality of student success indicators for which a school was designated, such as attendance, and exceed the standard for designations that were applied the year of the initial designation. You can see in these two exit criteria charts what is specifically required for each school year leading up to the current school year. We do not know yet what the percentage increase will be for the 2022-2023 school year. You can see to the far right the total aggregate gains required up to 2021-2022. Without the proper data, we are not positive what our aggregate was in either school. Next slide. Title I schools. Here you can see a list of Title I schools: Bywood, Highland Park, Kindergarten Center, Stonehurst, Walter Sencal, Westbrook Park. Both of our A-TSI schools are also Title I schools. Even though the data is not perfect, next slide, I'm sorry. Even though the data is not perfect, you will see in these school level plans that achievement continues to be our challenge, while growth for those schools who have sufficient data to measure growth continues to exceed the state average. That concludes my presentation this evening. I'm happy to try and field questions for you.
Thank you, Dr. Manfrey, Mr. Marshallak. Just for the board to know, I did ask Dr. Manfrey to add additional wording to the slides with the charts that indicate that we still don't have the data from the state to update those percentages, because I know a lot of our community members will look at the slides and looks like, well, why aren't we updating these percentages? You know, these years are in the past. So I did ask him to add a little asterisk at the bottom indicating that we have not yet received those. So just FYI. Any questions, comments, inquiries from the board? Now is your chance. Or do you want to go home? Okay. Oh, Miss Mitchell, thank you.
I'll just say thank you for the hard work on and continuous improvement for our schools.
All right. Looks like now time for public comment. Seeing that no one in-person comments needed, Ms. Buford, are there any comments online or via telephone?
No, there are no virtual or removed comments.
Thank you, Ms. Buford. Mr. Marshallek, can you review the one agenda item?
Yes, so tonight we had one agenda item for board action at the June 7th board meeting. Again, Dr. Manfred provided an overview and explanation of our A-TSI and Title I school improvement plans, and the meaning of A-TSI and what the plans mean and how they relate to individual school improvement. That's it.
Okay, and this is up for board action at our next board meeting. Are there any objections to moving this item forward? All right, hearing none, there's consensus to move the item forward for a vote at the next board meeting. I move the meeting back to President Brown.
Thank you, Director Neal. A motion is in order for the adjournment of the Education and Pupil Services Committee meeting. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.